Hello and welcome back to the SaaS Growth System course. Today, in this lesson, we're going to be talking about how to set up paid ads in a profitable way across the various ad networks, including Meta, LinkedIn, Google, Bing, AdRoll, and others. And I'm excited to jump in. I just got out of the cold plunge here at our house in Austin, Texas, and I'm ready to go. So if you're ready, let's jump back into the slideshow and let's get started. Week 6, Ads 101, Setup and Tracking. So what's the difference between a 3 million ARR SaaS company and a 30 million ARR SaaS company? Well, scalable, profitable ads. Bottom line, if you can figure out your unit economics, know how much a customer costs to acquire and how much a customer is worth to you over time, and figure out what you want your target payback months to be and your target CAC to be, as we talked about in earlier lessons, then you can do a test ad budget across these various networks, find out what works, what's within your target CPLs and target CPAs, and then scale up what works. It's really at a fundamental model as simple as that. Now it's the implementation and execution where all the details come in. This is what we did at iContact to scale from 3 million, 4 million, 5 million in 2005 up to 50 million in ARR in 2011, right before our exit. And it's what I've done and helped do for a number of other B2B SaaS companies that have grown very, very quickly, ranging from Instantly to Seamless to Tango, Clearstream, and many, many others, ranging in revenue from 5 million to 160 million. So let's get going. Let's jump in. Our 30,000 foot view of the SaaS growth system is here. You begin with building your ABM lead list like we talked about in the last section. And then once you have that, you do what we're going to be talking about today, steps 2 through 8, which is you install your ad tracking tool. We like to use Cometly, but you could use HubSpot, Hyros, HockeyStack, Google Analytics for that if you want. And then you turn on your retargeting ads. That's the lowest hanging fruit for increasing conversion and shortening your sales cycle. Showing ads to people who have recently visited your website or interacted with your ads, liked on them, clicked on them, watched a certain length of video, or perhaps even filled out a lead form. And then you do your matched audience ads. That's uploading your ABM lead list from Apollo or Instantly or another lead prospecting tool to Facebook, LinkedIn, Bing, Google, AdRoll, etc. Showing ads just to the people in your target market to become omnipresent. Then you turn on your paid search ads, your Google and Bing ads for both your brand terms, your competitor terms, your comparisons like your brand versus another brand, as well as industry keywords. And you track the cost per lead and cost per sale for each of those types of ads. And you turn on your lookalike ads on Meta, your predictive ads on Google Ads and LinkedIn, making sure you got your geographic targeting right for your particular country you target. You do your content boosting ads on LinkedIn, your review site ads on G2 Capterra, Software Advice. And then once you have that all going, then you really ramp up your outbound prospecting once those people that are on the list that you're about to reach out to from your ABM lead list have already heard about you through display and social ads. So this is the big picture. As the CEO, founder, or perhaps the head of marketing, head of sales, that's the 30,000 foot view. Now let's talk about the implementation. So why is making ads profitable so critical to growth? Well, founder-led sales and marketing, content marketing, bootstrapping is the way you go from 0 to 1 or even 0 to 5. But getting beyond that 5 million plateau in a SaaS, you really need to build a scalable sales and marketing engine. And core to that is continual lead flow, predictable lead flow, and predictable revenue. And that comes from digital advertising. If you can make digital ads profitable, you can add probably another 2.5 million to 25 million in ARR over the next few years at a 4x ARR revenue multiple, which was the median last year. It's about 4.4 last year. That's an added $10 to $100 million in enterprise value to your company. If you own 50% of the stock, that's an added $5 to $50 million in your pocket over the next 3 to 4 years from making work what I'm talking about today. So you could take 2 different paths after this course. You could learn about it, find it interesting, and do nothing. Or you could learn about it, find it interesting, and put in place an implementation process through either an ad agency, doing it yourself if you want, hiring someone on Marketer Hire to implement it for you, finding someone on Upwork to implement it for you, or joining our Done With You program, where for $5,000 a month for 4 months, we will take you through on a weekly live call with us how to actually implement this with your CMO, your head of marketing, head of growth, etc., or yourself. Or you could hire us to implement it for you. This is what we do at SaaSRise. We do B2B ads for software companies, and obviously build community and do masterminds as well. So this is the difference between 5 million and 50 million. Don't let this holy grail of making scalable customer acquisition work pass you by. So at iContact, we added an extra $100 million to our eventual exit value by making paid advertising profitable. Now you could say that, that was 2012. Ads were cheaper then, perhaps, but I got to tell you, email marketing has always been a competitive space. We were going against some very aggressive competition with MailChimp at the time. And we scaled up to 50 million and Constant Contact, frankly. And we scaled up to 50 million in ARR very quickly, from 5 million in 2007 to 50 million in 2011, by scaling up our profitable ad spend from 0 to 2 million a month. Now, that's not all ad spend. That was really sales and marketing spend. We probably had about $1.5 million a month of ad spend and about 500,000 a month of sales spend. But together, that sales and marketing spend generated 4,000 new customers per month and allowed us to achieve that exit. Had we not done that, we would have sold for 50 million, 40 million. We would have maybe gotten to 10, 12, 13 million in revenue, sold for 40, 50 million. Would have been a fine exit, but it certainly wouldn't have been a 9-figure exit, or given me the experience relatively early in my career of how to manage a mid-sized company. So let's jump in. The value to figuring out paid ads for your firm and making them profitable and scalable, well, it's an increase in your enterprise value of 10 to 100 million. So yes, it's worth keeping at it until it works, even if it takes 6 months, even if it takes 12 months, heck, even if it takes 24 months to figure this out, even if it takes 3 agencies to figure this out. Do not give up. I've seen ads work profitably for B2B SaaS companies and B2C SaaS companies, where ACVs are anywhere from $100 a year to $1 million a year. And what I find is that unlike outbound, which only works if your ACV is a couple $1,000s and up, paid advertising can work regardless of your ACV. So what do I mean by profitable advertising? Well, as I spoke about in earlier lessons, I mean a payback in less than 6 months in revenue. Some venture-backed firms would even be willing to get a customer paying 12 or even 15 months in revenue if you have very low churn and a high lifetime value. But for me, paying about 6 months of revenue to acquire a customer makes sense for most B2B SaaS companies. Maybe a little less if you're on the SMB side, if your churn's 4 or 5% a month. Or like SaaSRise, we have 8, 9, 10% churn a month right now. Our average member stays about 10 months. Then maybe you only want to spend 2-3 months in upfront revenue to get the customer. That's fine. So, you want to back into both measures of payback windows, both, 6 months of revenue or 1/6 of LTV, whatever's lower. And that will give you your target CAC. So in my 22 years in SaaS, through iContact, through Hive Digital, the ads agency I own, and through SaaSRise, which is an ad agency and community for SaaS CEOs and founders only, we've overseen $50 million in profitable B2B ad spend. We're now at overseeing about 500,000 a month and going up. And these are the lessons that we've learned from doing that. So do you have to pay for ads? Well, you don't have to pay for ads in the first year or two. As you bootstrap to a couple million in ARR, you can get to a couple million in ARR through just organic founder-led marketing and founder-led sales and outbound prospecting. But if you want to get beyond the 3, 4, 5 million ARR plateau, outpace the churn window, you need to begin understanding that you're going to want to invest 10 to 20% of your top line revenue each quarter and each month into customer acquisition. Otherwise, you're going to grow at 5, 10, 15% a year. If you want to grow at 30, 40, 50, 60% a year, you need to build a scalable system to achieve that by combining outbound with digital advertising. So if you want to scale your business 10x to where you are now and get beyond that $5, $10 million plateau that so many firms get stuck at, profitable online advertising combined with outbound, if you are a mid-market or enterprise firm, is the key. And yes, you can show ads only to the people in your target market. And remember, on display ads, you're not paying per click, you're paying per impression. And it's very cheap, less than a penny per impression, usually 1/3 of a cent per impression. 1,000 impressions might be $30. So what you do is, as we've talked about, you build your lead list using Apollo, Seamless, Instantly, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and 20 other lead prospecting platforms. You build an email list for everyone in your target market. You can also build a company list and do a company match list on LinkedIn. And then you upload this audience list, this custom audience list or match list, to Meta, to LinkedIn, to Google, to Bing, to AdRoll. You can also do it on Taboola. And then you only serve ads to people who are in your exact target market, often at a low cost, $20 to $60 per 1,000 impressions. If you had 1,000 of your target ICP prospects in a room, just think about that. If you had 1,000 of your ICP prospects in a room, would you pay $50 to get in front of them? You should. You should. If you're B2B, you absolutely should. And even if you're B2C, you absolutely should. B2C CPMs are lower, of course, more like $5, $10. But in B2B, it's a more expensive audience because you're targeting decision makers. So you want to get in front of your target market. You can get in front of 100,000 members of your target market a month for, what would that be? $2,000, $3,000, really not that much money. And you want to offer them an educational lead magnet, a case study, a well-written 10-page article that you wrote yourself or recorded a video for, and then had a ghostwriter take your video content and turn into an article. And then when you reach out via email, once you collect their lead, or LinkedIn prospect, or via cold, your prospect will already be familiar with your brand and substantially increasing sales conversion rate. Remember, it's all about the funnel. It's all about awareness to interest to desire to action. And right now, you are working on building awareness and interest among the people in your target market, so that 3-6 months from now, you can have your SDR team and your sales executive team and bring them into desire action, and then eventually your success team into retention and expansion. So how do you set your target CAC? Well, take a look at the 2 videos that we have on this earlier in this, lessons, I believe 2, even lesson 1 and 2, which really focus on unit economics and setting your CAC. But in short, your target CAC should be about 50% of your ACV or around 1/6 of your LTV, whichever is lower. You can triangulate these 2 measures to find the Goldilocks level of growth and profitability. There are some small exceptions to this, like if your churn is, SMB level or consumer level churn where you're losing 7, 8, 9% a month, maybe you want to do, 20% of ACV, for example. But generally speaking, the rule of thumb, 6-month payback or 1/6 of LTV, whatever is lower, to set your target CAC. And as we showed in prior lessons, here is what normal ranges would be for CAC for an SMB company, a mid-market company, and an enterprise company based on the target audience you are going after. And some companies go after multiple target audiences with different landing pages, different verticalized messaging. So determine these numbers for yourself if you haven't already. Fill out this chart. ARPA, as a reminder, is average revenue per account. That's the monthly revenue per account. ACV is that number times 12, annual contract value. And calculate your lifetime value, your payback window. And once you have that, then you know how much you can spend to get a customer. You can study these examples from iContact, which targeted SMBs, and SaaSRise, which targets essentially CEOs, mid-markets, about $800, $900 a month on average once you add in all the upsells that we offer, like ads management and exit consulting and that type of thing. So now calculate your target CAC, and once you have this filled out, then you can continue on into the next part of this lesson. You can pause here to fill out this in your unit economics template. Here are the 4 most important common mistakes that I see happen all the time. Number 1 is people start spending money on ads without knowing what their target lead cost and target acquisition cost actually is. I call that flying blind, flying without radar, flying without an engine, if you will. You need to know where you want to go before you start taking off the plane. So you want to track, you want to know what your target CPL and target CAC is, and then of course you need to track your CPL and CAC using conversion tracking. The basic way to do that is on the ad platforms themselves, using the Meta Pixel, the LinkedIn Pixel, the Google Ads Pixel, etc. Combine that with conversion tracking. And that's a basic way to do it. Once you're advertising on multiple networks at once, these networks are all going to claim the same conversions, particularly if you're doing retargeting. So then you need to move to a multi-touch attribution model, which a tool like Commently, HubSpot, Hyros, Hockey Stack can do pretty well. We like using Commently. It's about $500 a month and up to $1,000 a month if you have a high volume of ad spend, and it works out pretty well. Third mistake, not sending traffic to a landing page with a clear call to action. A lot of folks will send traffic to their homepage that has a bunch of options on it without a clear call to actions. 3 CTA buttons. Do not have two CTA buttons. Have one CTA button. The only CTA button in big pink, orange, blue, green highlight color should be is your main desired call to action, which should either be start a free trial, create your free account, or sign up for a demo. One of the 3, or maybe download study, download PDF lead magnet if you're working on the more thought leadership lead gen. And then the last one is not using a multi-channel attribution tool like we mentioned, Commently, Hyros, Google Analytics, HubSpot, etc. So those are the 4 most common mistakes. Don't make those mistakes. Start by setting up an ad tracking platform. Your marketing team should be able to do this for you. Your agency should be able to do this for you. Or if you hire someone on marketerhire.com, which are like experienced marketers that, do some side consulting a few hours a week, you can get this set up pretty quickly there. Or you could even find someone on Upwork who's experienced in this type of thing. Once you show ads on multiple platforms at once, they're all going to take credit for the same conversions, particularly if you do retargeting, unless you use a tool that dedupes it and properly attributes. We, as we'll talk about, like to use the U-shaped attribution, which gives 40% credit to the first touch, 40% credit to the last touch, and 20% credit to all the touches that happen between the first touch and the last touch. This is an example of the Commently interface. Makes it really easy to see what you're spending and what the results are, and dedupes the results by channel. This is an example of the Hockey Stack interface. A little bit harder to set up, longer to set up, but if you're spending more than $100,000 a month, it might be worth it. So how do you decide on your test budget? Well, you don't have to start spending $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000 at once. You can start with a smaller test budget, especially if you're an SMB or mid-market platform. The rule of thumb here is 3 times your target CAC needs to be your test budget per channel. So if you want to test one channel, Google Ads, let's say your target CAC is $5,000, well, you need to spend about $15,000 on that channel to assess what your actual cost per acquisition, CPA, same thing as CAC, customer acquisition cost, should be. If you're an enterprise company and your target CAC is like $50,000, well, you don't need to spend $150,000 to get statistically significant results. You would just, instead of making your target cost per acquisition or cost per customer, you would make your target cost per sales qualified lead or cost per marketing qualified lead, and then look at the standard conversion rate over the sales cycle length into your paying customers or closed won deals. So for SMB deals, you can usually acquire these customers within a few weeks, while obviously you're going to have a much longer sales cycle with enterprise deals. So if you're going to do a 60-day test, you're going to get good results with a good CAC by channel for the SMB or even the mid-market. But if you're an enterprise company, it might take a full 6 months to get the results all the way through the sales cycle, or even 12 months. So particularly if you're wanting to grow a lot next year, this year is the time to set up these tasks, establish the baseline, and then do your budgeting for the following year based on real numbers. So the shorter your average sales cycle, the shorter time and lower cost until you have solid test results, and the higher your average sales length and higher your average CAC is, it's going to take longer and it's going to be more expensive unless you just focus on testing the cost per lead, which is fine. So you do have to spend a lot if you're an enterprise, but that's okay because the value is a lot and it is worth it. Think about this. If you end up having to spend $100,000 or $200,000 on an ad test, and you can demonstrate as an enterprise company that you can predictably add an extra 2-3 customers a quarter, you're going to be ramping up your ARR by an extra $3 to $5 million a year. And that will significantly increase your growth if you're a 10, 15, 20 million a year company. So don't be afraid of testing, and you're not just getting the value of the clicks, you're getting the value of the knowledge. And it's the value of the knowledge of what works and what doesn't that is going to ultimately allow you to build a 50 million a year revenue company or higher. Knowledge is everything. And you may have to try a few different ways to get it done. All right. So there's a template here that you can use to put in your own numbers and put in your target cost per lead. Let's say you're SMB and your target cost per lead is $20 and your target customer acquisition is 200. Great. Maybe you only need to spend $30,000 to be able to test, 6 or 7 different channels. But if you're in the, let's say, enterprise and your target cost per lead is 1,000 and your target CAC is 10,000, well, you might have to spend more like 70,000 a month over 2-3 months, and then wait a couple quarters for the full sales cycle to develop to really know the actual results here. So play around with this and you'll see what the results need to be. Where do you put your budget initially? Well, if you're time constrained or budget restrained, just start with retargeting ads, matched audience ads, and paid search ads. Don't not do those 3. And then once you have a little bit more budget, add in lookalike ads, review site ads, social content boost ads, etc. At minimum, you need to be doing retargeting ads, paid search ads, and matched audience ads to execute the SaaS growth system and become omnipresent within your field. So what are the steps before you start advertising? Make sure your team installs the Meta Pixel, the LinkedIn Pixel, the Google Ads Pixel, and the Google Analytics Pixel, currently called the GA4 Pixel, changes every few years. Install the Bing Pixel, install the AdRoll Pixel if you want to use those networks as well. Bing is good for search and display, and AdRoll is great for retargeting, gets your company on ESPN, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and other sites like that. And sometimes if you haven't already spent $50,000 on Google Ads, they won't let you do matched audience ads on Google yet. So AdRoll is a great way to do display retargeting ads across the internet if you haven't yet spent $50,000 on Google Ads and become eligible for Google Display retargeting or Google Display matched audience ads. You're going to want to define custom conversions, both, what is a lead, what is a demo, what is a trial, what is a free account, what is a closed one, etc. on each platform, as well as the value, and make sure you're passing those values back. And lastly, make sure you have a landing page with your target CTA set up and then test the visitor lead conversion. You should be getting 3 to 6% visitor lead conversion minimum if you have a good landing page. All right, so next we're going to talk about the 7 most effective ad types for SaaS firms. We're going to go through them one by one here. And if you can get these set up with inside your business over the next 3 to 6 months, either by implementing them through your head of growth on your team, your paid media person in your team, or through an agency or through SaaSRise, you can really be able to test your CPLs and CPAs, and then 3 to 6 months from now know what works and ramp it up. So we're going to now talk through how to set up each of these types of ads. There's cold ads and there's warm ads. The cold ads are ads to people that don't know who you are yet. Those are lookalike ads, people that look similar to your prospects and customers. And then what I call social targeting ads, which is like going on Facebook and LinkedIn and targeting people based on what groups they're in, what job titles they have, what size companies they're at, what geographic locations they're at, etc. Warm ads, though, are matched audience ads. Those are sort of hybrid warm cold. I would call them, cool, somewhere between cold and warm, because some of them already know who you are. If you've been doing, or hopefully, if you've been doing your outbound campaigns, they may know who you are already. They're in your target market, so warm them up. We usually like to use display ads and social ads to warm up before you do outbound, but you could do it either way. Generally, what I'll do is start building my ABM lead list and then show matched audience ads to them. They'll see the ads for the first time, start becoming warm, and then we'll take the people that really engage with the outbound content that we're sending and then put those on our engaged ads and then show more ads to the people who are actively clicking and opening the outbound sequences. You want to do review site ads, paid search ads. Warm ads mean that people either already know who you are or they're already in the market for what you're selling. Paid search is warm because these people are ready to go. They're actively researching your space, whereas someone who's just getting, a cold display ad wouldn't necessarily be researching or be in market yet. Often it's said that 97% of your market is not actively looking to buy. Only 3% is actively looking to buy at any given time. And so it's important to make 100% of your target market aware of you so that you actually get exposed to the 3% that's actually looking to buy right now. You want to do retargeting ads, customer retargeting ads, etc. Set up your paid search ads. As you see here, there's 4 different types of campaigns you'll want to do on Google and Bing: branded terms, your company name; comparison terms, like your company name versus other company names; competitor terms, other company brands; and intent terms. Now, at least in the US, you can advertise on your competitor terms. You often, though, cannot put their trademark in your ad. So you can bid on the trademarked term usually, but you can't use their trademark term in your ad, if that makes sense. And then lastly, what we call intent terms. These are terms that display intent to buy or intent to research. For example, if you're iContact, you could bid on the term email marketing software. So it's what people would type in to find what you offer, where there's no brand associated. Lastly here, be careful to geographically target your ads. We have found that Google especially is notorious for, having settings by default that simply expand your audience to countries where there is a low cost per conversion. But then you look in the data and you realize that 90% of your budget is being spent where the cost per conversion is low, end up in countries where the access to credit cards or the ability for those businesses to actually pay is much lower and much lower conversion rate. So we'll often see, if you have these types of expanded search functions on, especially on Google Ads, without limiting your ad audience to just the countries you do want to target, you'll get 80-90% of your audience in places like India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Indonesia, Kenya, etc. Great countries, but not often where the most buyers are for B2B SaaS software. So just watch that very carefully. It's not always the lowest cost lead that matters. It's the lowest cost lead that's likely to convert that matters. Then you want to do retargeting ads. Set up your Google, Meta, LinkedIn, Bing, and AdRoll retargeting ads. There's various different types of retargeting you can see on the sheet. Take a minute. I'm going through this quickly, so take a minute, to look through these slides. When you have a chance, you can forward it over to your agency, to your head of marketing. Just send the slides to them, send this video to them. And we want this knowledge, to get out there. So even though, this is a course that we often do charge a lot of money for, we want it to help you. We want it to get out to the people implementing this. And we know that you as the CEO might not be the person implementing this all the time. Maybe you are, but oftentimes you'll have a team that can implement this for us. So send this to the team, and they'll know some of this, and this will also help them around the edges, make sure that happens within the way that is aligned for the SaaS growth system, where you're really focusing on the B2B customer targeting. Retargeting works pretty simple. You pixel a person, cookie a person when they come to your website, and then they see ads on all their devices as they go throughout the web, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or ESPN or ABC or CNN, wherever they're going. So we do recommend spending 5 to 15% of your budget on retargeting warm ads. And that is because it reduces your sales cycle length and increases your lead conversion rate. Then you want to do matched audience ads. This is your ABM lead list matched audience ads. Upload your prospects from your CRM tool, upload your prospects from your ABM list, from your Apollo Instantly Seamless, etc. Then after you've set that up and begun to become omnipresent in your field, then you'll want to test lookalike ads. You can do lookalike ads on Meta, and you can do predictive ads on Google and LinkedIn. Same thing, essentially. Different now. You want to do social targeting ads on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can use various targeting. We like to target in B2B: job title, geography, company size. You can't really do company size on LinkedIn, on Facebook, but you can on LinkedIn. So play around with the different targeting options and see if based on group or based on like or based on location, you can find these people. Oftentimes it's easier to find these via lookalike ads and matched audience ads. So that's why we recommend doing that first. And then almost last year, do social content boosting. That's where you take your content machine that you created in the last lesson and you put it into your LinkedIn profile. You build up your followers, and then you boost those posts, $20, $30 a post, and you start getting a lot of clicks and a lot of likes and a lot of comments, and they become aware of your brand over time. So example of social content boosting, if you want to see a couple good examples, check out Adam Robinson on LinkedIn. He does this very well. You can see here this post got 678 likes and 169 comments. 500-word social content post with a short, I think, 60-second video attached to it. Then you'll also can look at what Instantly is doing with their social content boosting on LinkedIn. They're doing a great job at this as well. And then lastly, you want to set up your review site ads. You get a free listing, but if you want to get more people, you often will have to pay a bit, which is not uncommon for B2B software companies to do. It won't necessarily improve your reviews, but what it will do is it will get you premium exposure of your listing. You will, on your own, have to do a review campaign to get your customers that are happy to review you, offer them, $50, $100 gift cards to do that. And do that on G2, Capterra, GitApp, Software Advice. And then if you're an enterprise company, you'll want to talk to the various analysts at Gartner, at Forrester, and talk with them about initiating coverage, which they'll do naturally once you get to about 50 million in ARR. But they will do even earlier if you're willing to pay them, $30,000 a year. Then they'll initiate coverage and put you in their Forrester wave much earlier than you would normally. So this is something that's worth testing. These leads are expensive. They can be, $30 a click, $200 a lead. But if you're B2B mid-market or enterprise, they can convert pretty well. So try them out, see if it works. The key is over time, you want to test everything. Half of it's going to work, half of it's not going to work. And it's not wasted money, even the stuff that doesn't work, because what matters is the knowledge of how to scale. And that knowledge compounds over time in ways that's going to create a lot of enterprise value for your company. So if you have to spend $200,000 to figure out what works, that's okay. Because keep in mind, that's going to generate, if you get it right, at least $10, $20, $30 million in added enterprise value over the next few years. Here's an example of, I contact the company I started on GitApp. You can see they've got 600 reviews on there, 4.5, so pretty good. Lastly, here you want to talk about how to provide air cover. I want to talk about how to provide digital ad cover to your sales org. If you have a sales org, if you have SDRs and AEs, if you have SDRs and AEs and you're not doing retargeting ads, you just need to start. That you could set that up in a day or two. Just install the pixels, give it 2 days to build, and then turn on the ads. And if you're going to be doing outbound via an SDR team, insourced or outsourced, you want to turn on these matched audience ads to the same list that you're going to email or call about at least 21 to 30 days before you start reaching out to these people via email, LinkedIn, and phone. If you combine matched audience ads with retargeting ads with outbound, you tend to get magic and everything starts working together. Read the article, ABM Advertising, How to Show Ads to Your Exact ICP, for more on how to set up these ads to provide air cover to your SDRs and AEs in advance. So to finish up this section, if you want to grow faster, invest the time and energy and get the right people on your team, either through an agency like SaaSRise or internally or through an outsourced firm like Market or Hire. We can get freelancers to do this for you. Spend a lot more on scientifically tracked digital advertising within your CAC goals. It might take 2 to 3 quarters of, I said months at some point, I'll fix that typo. It may take 2 to 3 quarters of CRO and testing to make the numbers work, but it is worth it. All right, in the next section, we're going to be talking about Ads 202. We're going to be talking about scaling the ads once you have completed your initial 60-day test and how to scale up what works properly so you can generate an extra 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 million in ARR per year from profitable advertising. Ryan Ellis signing off from Austin, Texas for now. I will see you in the next lesson. Hope you're enjoying this. Take care. Let me know if you have any questions in Slack or WhatsApp.